Hi, Dr. Shook here. This is Sauna session number 12. In this sauna session, what we're going to talk about, again, is leaky gut. And in particular, I want to talk about one thing that promotes leaky gut, and that is Candida, or yeast overgrowth. Yeast overgrowths do a few different things to your intestinal wall. So if you remember, leaky gut is where your small intestinal wall becomes permeable or leaky, and it lets things that should stay in the GI tract and be eliminated through your stool into the bloodstream. There are a number of different things that can leak back in, from hormones that your liver's detoxifying and putting into your stool, to food proteins, to cellular debris called lipopolysaccharides, to a number of different types of bacteria that can leak in, to environmental compounds that your liver's detoxifying and trying to eliminate. So there are more things than that, but here's the important thing. We're going to talk about this one thing that promotes permeability or leakiness of your gut wall. And so we're going to talk about yeast or Candida. So here's how Candida creates a lot of problems for leaky gut. When you have yeast overgrowth in your intestinal tract, what it does is that it causes the cells of your intestinal wall, okay, they're called epithelial cells, all right? So what they do is, if this is a cell, they'll butt against one another, okay? They'll butt up directly against one another. If the edge of my hand is a cell, they'll push against the other cell so that they keep a tight junction where they're close together, okay? So what happens with Candida is that it causes those cells to atrophy or shrink down. When they get smaller, the gap between them gets bigger. Does that make sense? Because they're getting smaller. So as they get smaller, the gap between them gets bigger. That creates a widening of what they call the tight junction. Now, the tight junction is just that space between them. So when that happens, it's kind of like, if you separated two bricks in a wall. It creates a hole, right? It creates a gap. Well, what happens then is that proteins and things from all these things I just mentioned that can leak into the bloodstream, now they leak in very easily. So basically the yeast in the Candida causes atrophy of the epithelial cells. And how does that occur? Because yeast, one of the things that we do when we check for yeast is we can run a test called an organic acids test. It's the one that I like the most. We can do a stool test as well to see if there's yeast overgrowth that grows in a culture. We can also do a blood test to see if you're having an immune response to it. But I like to look in the colon. I like to look at the organic acids test, because here's the deal. I've had yeast overgrowth issues, so I suspected it, so I ordered a test called an organic acids test. This organic acids test showed that I had very high levels of a byproduct of yeast. And what we're particularly looking at here are something called aldehydes. Now, these aldehydes, what they do, it sounds familiar, right? Formaldehyde, aldehydes. You can Google it and look it up, but it causes those epithelial cells to shrink and atrophy, causes and promotes leaky gut. So here's a good scenario. So a lot of people come in, they can't eat things, and we talk a lot about food triggers, because food triggers are a very common way that autoimmunity is perpetuated and that it continues, because your immune system sees food proteins as foreign that are crossing that leaky intestinal wall, getting into the bloodstream, triggering an immune response. That perpetuates autoimmunity. So when we see that, what ends up happening is that we often look at those food triggers, but you've got to always ask the question, why is the gut leaky? Is it a food trigger now? Is it a bacterial overgrowth? Or is there something else? So I'm Dr. Shook. I appreciate you taking time to learn more about your health. And if you need anything, just let us know. Enjoy your Saturday.
Hey guys, Dr. Shook, thank you for viewing our videos. I hope they help you out. If you want to, just subscribe to our channel somewhere here. You can watch a video that YouTube's actually selected for you, so hopefully it'll help you out. If you need any other information or resources, just look in the description. We've got links to our website, to our 9 lab test guidebook, and everything else that we do. I really appreciate you, and I hope you guys have a great